It's time to take a ride on the Common Sense Express. And now here's your host, a wealth of information, ladies and gentlemen, Mary Souza.
Hi, welcome to the Common Sense Express. We are on vacation from the world of politics this week, and we're going Hawaiian. Our cousin, Kaipo Ho, and his wife Anne-Marie are here visiting with us from Hawaii, and they're both in studio, although Anne-Marie insists that she is not going to be on the mic. So she will not be participating in our conversation today, but she's watching and taking pictures, and Kaipo is here with us. And he is just a fascinating person with an interesting background. They're wonderful and important members of our family, and I thought you'd be very interested in hearing what Kaipo does as his mission in life, his job as well as his interest, and I'm not getting the word, but it is his calling in life. That's it. And Kaipo's a kahu in the Hawaiian culture. It's not a religion, but he is a kahu, and I'm going to ask him to explain that in just a minute. The kahu whole issue is that it's a fascinating endeavor that wraps ancient customs with spirituality, and then it applies them in the modern world. So, Kaipo, I'm going to start with the obvious question. What is a kahu?
Thank you. Aloha, Mary. And first of all, before we start, I want to say thank you very much for inviting me to speak today.
Well, and thank you very much for visiting us.
Very happy to. Thank you for your hospitality, you and Rick and your family, your ohana. So thank you. To your question, what is a kahu? In the Hawaiian language, the Hawaiian culture, kahu is in reference to the keeper or the caregiver or the caretaker of various aspects of the culture. Mm-hmm. And there are many kahu, and kahu are also trained in various disciplines of healing arts, protocol. My particular specialty happens to be a combination of both, especially the protocol. I've been trained specifically in protocol. And then also learning and understanding certain chants and rituals with regards to healing.
Oh, interesting. So now I have to ask and clarify the difference between a kahu and a big kahuna. The colloquial thing that everyone hears for years. There is a connection, but explain that to us.
Okay, that's a good question. And in essence, how do I put this? All kahuna are kahu. Not all kahu are kahuna.
Oh.
And to further explain that, kahuna is more of a reference to Hawaiian practitioners who have been trained specifically and practice specifically various Hawaiian rituals and protocols. But there are also kahuna who emphasize healing with plants. There are kahuna who are trained in healing or working with chants. There are kahuna who are trained in specific rituals and chants with regards to fishing and farming. So kahuna go through this extent of training over the course of their lifetime.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, how long does it take to become a kahuna?
Well, in the traditional sense, in the old Hawaiian days, you were picked as a young child. You were identified as a young child for your specific abilities, and sometimes it was a lineage thing. If your parents, your family were part of a line of kahuna, then that destination that was chosen for you. You were more than likely going to become a kahuna in that regard. But again, the kahuna goes through a great deal of training to get where they are, and the work that I do is I always refer to myself as a kahu, mm-hmm. but the work that I do is basically the work of a kahuna. And we've been taught to be very, very humble regarding the term kahu and kahuna. And I am of the school that if you have to tell people that you are a kahuna,
Yes.
then you really aren't a kahuna, because kahuna are not ones who brag about it or put the word out about it that I am a kahuna.
But at some point in your development in this, would there come a time where you would say, yes, I am a kahuna, or that you would know that? Or do you know that already? Is that the case already?
Very good question. That would probably depend on your teachers.
Okay.
All of kahuna have teachers, or kumu. And it's been my teaching and my philosophy that the work that I do, I will always be referred to as a kahu. Yet, if my kumu, my teacher, says that I need you to do this particular ritual, I need you to do this specific ceremony, it is at that point that I may step further from being just a kahu and practicing more the authentic rituals and kind of stepping into that role as a kahuna.
So when you officiate or participate in ceremonies, public legal ceremonies, and because I know you do weddings and you do funerals and you do all of these different ceremonies,
Yes.
and you bring that spirituality with you to those ceremonies, is that the work of a kahu or a kahuna, or either or both, or?
Good question again. If in the role of a kahu, I would do weddings, I would do funeral services. As in the role of a kahu, I would bless someone's home upon request. I would bless their business upon request. In the role of kahuna, to give you an example, in the role of a kahuna, I'm trying to find the words to explain it because it could sound pretty far-fetched. You are dealing with, or we are dealing with, things unseen by most people, unheard by most people, unfelt by most people. So we're dealing in a very deep spiritual situation. And as a kahuna, you're almost, I can speak for myself that when I'm in that role as a kahuna, that there are times when I'm doing my ceremonies and my rituals that I have no control over myself. I trust to the ancestors. I open myself up to our kahuna, or excuse me, our kupuna, our ancestors. And it's our ancestors that guide me through the things that need to be done, when they have to be done, and how they have to be done. The ancestors will guide me as a kahu, but in the role as a kahuna, there are some unbelievable experiences that I cannot do as a human. I have to be at this very different place spiritually, and that's where I rely on my ancestors to guide me through that.
Isn't that interesting? Because now I'll tell our listeners that we're talking with Kaipo Ho, who is our cousin, and he's visiting from Hawaii, and he's a kahu and obviously a kahuna also in the Hawaiian culture, which is not a religion. But 4 years ago, when our daughter got married, Kaipo and his wife Anne came up for the wedding, and Kaipo was part of the wedding ceremony. We had a Catholic priest and Kaipo. It was really a wonderful experience to blend those two. The Catholic priest was a friend of our family on the other side, from my side of the family, and he has been a priest on an Indian reservation down in Pendleton, Oregon, for many, many, many years. So the Native American culture is very much a part of what it deals with on a regular basis. So Father Mike and Kaipo just hit it off immediately, and they blended the cultures together so well. And it was on a ranch out behind Wolf Lodge, beautiful spot out in the open. So we had an Idaho wedding with a priest with an Indian culture background, and Kaipo bringing the Hawaiian culture, and the groom's side of the family was from Montana, so we had men in tuxedos and big black cowboy hats. It was an amazing confluence. I think that was the word that Father Mike used. Confluence of cultures coming together, and ages and people, of course, at all weddings are like that. But as you performed your ceremonial duties at the wedding, there was one part that really caught everybody's, I think, heart a lot. And it's very simple. It's a very simple thing that you did, but you explained to everyone at the wedding what aloha means. Would you kind of repeat that?
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to. You know, first of all, aloha is used quite openly as a greeting back home. But there's a much deeper essence to aloha, and I could spend hours and hours on explaining the essence of aloha. But in simplest terminology, aloha, you could divide aloha into two words, alo and ha, and this is the narrative that I had used during the ceremony. Alo, A-L-O in the Hawaiian language, means in the presence of, or to be faced with. Ha is the Hawaiian word for breath. Now, going back to alo, there's a Hawaiian saying, he alo ahe alo, which means face to face.
Okay.
Now, if you have this vision of face to face, in my mind, I see two people looking at each other eye to eye, much in the way that we are right now, eye to eye. And just that visual it creates this level playing field. It's not one above the other or one below the other, but it's in this level playing field. That's the reference to he alo ahe alo, face to face, not in your face, but face to face.
Right.
And for me, when I'm able to sit or to stand and be in discussion with someone face to face, eyes to eyes, it's a manner of letting guards down, putting aside mental models, and just being open to the person in front of me. It's being very respectful of the person.
And
in front
you're
of
on a
me.
peer level.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. And one of my dear friends also explains it as being in the presence of a higher spirit. Or that's one definition that she uses. Another definition is respecting that spirit or that godliness in the person that you are with. Ha is the Hawaiian word for breath, and it's actually a reference to what we call the breath of life. And the breath is always with us. As a matter of fact, when we were born as young children, the first thing we took when we came into this place and this time was the ha, or the So as we were born, we took that first breath outside of our mother's womb. And over the course of our life, the words that we speak are an expression of our breath. The day that we die, the last thing we leave behind is or that breath of life. And it's between that first breath and that last breath that as we say, or as I believe, that every word that we take, every breath that we take, is not just ours. We're sharing that with someone else. And that breath is once you put it out there, it's not something you can take back. That ha also represents the words that you speak. And there's a Hawaiian saying that there is life in the word and there is death in the word, meaning that whatever comes out, it's out there. And you
can't take it back.
Can't take it back. So be very conscientious of what you say, how you say.
Yeah, and that's so interesting, and that breath of life, and in the wedding situation, you tied it into the relationship between the bride and the groom and sharing that breath of life for all those years together that they will. It was beautiful. So as you use, I think I really want to get into the work that you do for the hotel chain and how you travel all over the country.
Sure.
So let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back. We're talking with Kaipo Ho, who is a kahu from Hawaii and who is talking with us today. We'll come back and talk about his travels around the world. And you are listening to the Common Sense Express on the Heads Up Radio Network.
Looking for something different to do tonight? Thinking of a restaurant that you haven't been to for a while, or a place to take the kids out for a fun night? Ever find yourself in this situation? This is a question that prompted publisher Jeanette Dunn to create Idaho Cuisine and Spokane Sizzle dining and entertainment guides. And it just keeps getting better with their pocket guides, online editions, and now online local restaurant finder at sizzlingcuisine.com. Also find local wineries, breweries, distilleries, great recipes from local chefs, hot spots and cool happenings, and chances to vote for your favorites. Be in the know about local happenings when you sign up for the Sizzling Cuisine e-News, delivered to your desktop weekly, and be eligible to win a free dinner for two. You've always enjoyed reading the magazines. Now it's easy to flip through them online too. Makes it easy to find restaurants that offer great menus prepared by experienced staffs who really care to serve you the best in local cuisine. Spokane Sizzle and Idaho Cuisine are online at sizzleincuisine.com. We do the footwork to make it easy for you to find just what you're looking for. Avalanche Cleaning and Restoration is ready for spring. Are you? Let Avalanche get you ready for summer by making your house or business springtime clean. For all your carpet, upholstery, and window cleaning needs, even those emergency cleanups, call Avalanche. 208-762-2227. Emergency hotline 208-818-4411. Or online, avalancheclean.com. Avalanche. Fast, safe, and reliable. Hey, you know, not everybody plays like a pro. But
in this world of moving commerce, your business is either moving forward or moving backwards. Make sure it moves forward. Maybe it's time we build a spot that fits your image. Blue Creative Group takes the time needed to put together a spot you want people to hear and make it a marketing tool to drive customers to your business. With the tools and experience ad agencies and radio stations lack, Blue Creative Group will score it, voice it, and produce it. And if need be, place it on radio and TV stations throughout the Northwest. Blue Creative Group lets you make your branding personal to your target audience. Be creative, be productive, while being cost-effective. Be Blue. Blue Creative Group. Creative marketing plans for the 21st century. Call today, 208-758-0546. 208-758-0546.
Jump aboard the Common Sense Express. Now, here's your host, Mary Souza.
Hi, welcome back. We've been talking with Kaipo Ho, who is our cousin, my husband's and my cousin from Hawaii, who's visiting for a couple of weeks with his wonderful wife, Anne-Marie. And they are here in studio with us, though Anne has chosen to just take a quiet role, sitting and watching. Kaipo is here talking with us because he has just this fascinating background as a kahu in the Hawaiian culture, which is not a religion. But he also, for his work, for his day job, I guess you could call it, although the kahu job is also really entwined in what he does. Kaipo works for the Outrigger resort chain and travels all over the world. Kaipo, how long have you been with Outrigger?
I've been with Outrigger for 20 years.
Wow,
yes.
20 years this year?
Yes, as a matter of fact, 20 years as of December last year. So.
Wow. So describe your job.
Okay. My job title is Cultural Experiences Manager, and I wear several hats at Outrigger. The first is to ensure that Anything we do as an organization, as a hospitality company, is anything that we do in line with the culture or to showcase the culture is done in a manner that is respectful of our local culture. That's one hat that I wear. And let me take a quick step back. Outrigger Enterprises or Outrigger Resorts is a family-owned hospitality company, hotel company, hospitality management company based in Hawaii, and we are actually doing business around the world today. But we were started by Roy and Estelle Kelly back in 1947, so we're celebrating 67 years of hospitality.
That's great.
And we are, I think, one of the largest family-owned hospitality businesses in Hawaii with our expansion. Focus out towards Asia Pacific and Indian Ocean areas. So anyway, again, one of my jobs is to ensure that we are in line with cultural respect and dignifying the Hawaiian culture properly. Another hat that I wear at the company is very much involved with organizational development, training, and developing training programs and organizational development and leadership programs that bring together the company values and the culture of our islands, and integrate that with various business practices,
Team building, problem solving, strategic planning.
And another hat that I wear, which is one that takes me traveling abroad, is to introduce the outrigger culture to our new family. So if we open a new hotel in Thailand or in Australia, or just recently we opened a new hotel in Mauritius. One of my jobs is to go down and to, first of all, talk about Outrigger, welcome our new ohana or our family abroad, welcome them to the larger Outrigger family. And it's to introduce to them the core values of our company. Yet the most important discussion that I have with our family abroad isn't so much about this is the Hawaiian culture or the Hawaiian aspect of our company, but here are our core values, which are built on the Hawaiian culture. But what do these values mean? What do these hospitality concepts mean in your culture?
So they're kind of universal core values, really, aren't they?
They really are. They really are. They're universal values, yet they're exhibited in regional approaches. For example, every culture has hospitality.
Sure.
Every culture has traditions of hospitality. In Hawaii, we would teach to that concept under the rainbow of ho'okipa or hospitality. Whereas if we went to Guam, and we were talking about hospitality, we would look at hospitality in their cultural context, which would be inafumaulik. And
that's a Guamanian word?
That's a Guamanian word. That's a Chamorro word. And inafumaulik is translated as making it good or making it right.
Do you have to learn the languages, parts of the languages of all these different places that you visit?
That's... No, I don't, but it would actually make a lot of sense for me to do that. Places like Guam, for example, English is the first language, but there are so many native language speakers there. And so it would be helpful for me to understand, especially if they're translating Outrigger's core values into their language. There is the English interpretation of those values. But then there's also the cultural context of how they define those values and how those values are practiced in their regions.
So in a real practical sense, if I could just ask you a few questions about how you apply those core values and the cultural advisory role that you play, And let's start with Hawaii, because everybody, probably many of our listeners have been to Hawaii or would like to go to Hawaii, and we all have this version of Hawaii in our heads.
Right.
And many, having married into the family 35 years ago, and having been there so many times myself with my husband and our kids, and having so many family members there, we've seen a different side of Hawaii than most people who just come to be tourists there. But we also see the tourist side. So when it comes to applying the culture of Hawaii properly through the outrigger experience, how do you blend, how am I going to put this question, how do you blend that cheeky kind of tourism kind of Hawaii with, I mean, you don't blend it. That's not the Hawaii you want to honor. So how do you delicately direct people to use the Hawaiian culture in a respectful and helpful way to the customs of the ancient customs of Hawaii?
That is an awesome question. And personally, I wish there was a book out there that as soon as you press the confirm button online to book your trip to Hawaii, that it would automatically send you a PDF file of things you should know and things you can do to make your stay in Hawaii more enjoyable.
We could write that together. I'll help you.
Go.
Yeah.
There you go. That's a good question in that the island lifestyle is very, very different. It's very laid back. It's just been my personal experiences that living on an island, and I can only imagine that times before me there were less people on the island. So when you have less people living on one little rock, relationships are an extremely important way of life for you. And that's a carry through of many generations, and is still an essential part of our whole culture in Hawaii. Again, aloha, it's respecting that presence of people, that whole face-to-face aspect of it. I think, early in my work with Outrigger, we had a consultant who became one of my mentors. His name was Dr. George Kanahele. And through Dr. Kanahele's work, he had prompted us to find ways to educate our guests about the culture of the islands. And we don't do much of it now, but back in those days, we really took the time to share the culture, share stories of the culture. And I think the more you share the culture through stories, through any venue, you familiarize your guests, your visitors with the cultures. You're providing an educational opportunity for them. And I've always been a firm believer that if people learn and they hear these stories and they take these stories in, they'll start to pick up on some of the nuances of the culture.
And I think that's what draws people to Hawaii and some of these other destinations that we'll talk about in a minute that you've traveled to. It's because they're unique and interesting places, and they're different than anywhere else in the world. And that's one of the things that I hear from people here in Coeur d'Alene, in Idaho, in Montana, is that they love being here because it's different than where they've come from. And certainly we know that your wife, Emery, loves Montana and Idaho because it's very different than than Hawaii. And it's nice to have that variation in your life. But what I appreciate about Hawaii is that you hold on to what is your culture as Hawaii and not try to be Las Vegas all the time, although there are parts of Waikiki and places that do try to be Las Vegas. And we here in Coeur d'Alene kind of push back against some of that here, too. A lot of the local people are determined to try to preserve the nature, the essential elements that make Coeur d'Alene unique, and that because we could look like any place along I-90, just stop and all the stores and strip malls and restaurants are all the same, and that would be sad to lose that culture and history. So I appreciate that that your hotel chain, but also your personal motivation is to preserve the culture of Hawaii. Yeah. So when you travel then to some place for work, to, like, for example, Thailand, how then is do you have to do all of that research? And you know what, I should remind our listeners that we're talking with Kaipo Ho, who is our cousin, and he's here visiting for a couple of weeks from Hawaii, and he's a kahu in the Hawaiian culture, and he also works for the Outrigger resort chain as a is it PR? Is it PR?
Cultural advisor.
Yeah. Is it the PR or HR?
It's actually part of the Human Resources Department.
Human Resources,
yes.
yeah. And so he goes to Kaipo, you go to the new hotels that come on board for the management through management services through Outrigger. Is that it? Or does Outrigger actually own these hotels? Are they buying them?
We own some of the properties, and we simply manage some of the properties.
So like in Thailand,
yes,
which you went to recently,
yes.
I know that the Thai culture is quite different than in Hawaii.
Yes.
And so how do you then blend that and convince them to hold on to their culture and promote their culture?
You know, the places where Outrigger is expanding to already has a very rich culture and rich foundation based on hospitality.
Yeah.
And so trying to translate some of the concepts that began in Hawaii with the Outrigger company, those concepts, the term you use are universal. Mm-hmm. And so taking these concepts into Thailand, into Australia, into Guam, were simple introductions. I think some of the harder work comes from asking our new family members to translate these concepts into the context of their cultures. Now, that's an important distinction to make between here's our company core values, translate them in your language. Mm-hmm. That's not what we want. Right. We don't want you to take a Hawaiian document or an English printed document and translate it into Thai. What we want to understand is if one of our values is family, that we understand family in the context of the Thai culture. We understand family in the context of the Chamorro or the Guamanian culture. We understand family in the context of any of the cultures that we do business. Mm-hmm. Because what we don't want to do is to transfer a Hawaiian cultural concept to the far reaches of our company. We want people who are visiting, we want our guests to experience true Thai hospitality. Right. Same thing with the Chamorro hospitality and any other places we do business. So that introduction of the Outrigger culture and our Outrigger values is a conversation about please help us understand our core values in the context of your culture. And one of our core values from the Hawaiian side is kino'ole. And kino'ole, simply translated, means to be without flaw. Doesn't mean to be perfect. It means to do your best. And we define kino'ole as we do the right thing in the right way, at the right time, in the right place, to the right person, for the right reason, with the right feeling, the first time. And sometimes we add a little tag in there, all the time. Mm-hmm. And really the essence of that particular value is just to strive to do what is right. And every culture has that ingrained in them. Even if it's a culture that has grown up in a world of violence or just a very different way of looking at life, that's what they see as being right. Yeah. We might not agree with it, but every culture has those foundational values, and Outrigger's core values are foundational across all of our cultures. So it's a matter of taking this value and, as I said, translating it into the context of our different cultures.
So here's an off-the-wall question.
Sure.
what's the best food you've had as you travel around to these different countries?
That's a tough one. Food.
Because we all hear about Thai food,
Yeah.
and we love Thai food, you know that, and we've been out to Thai food with you guys millions of times. But Mauritius, I mean, where is Mauritius?
Mauritius is a very small island off the, I'm going to say a little over 2,000, maybe closer to 2,300 miles off the southeast coast of South Africa. So there's South Africa, a little further off to the east is the island of Madagascar, and then further south is the small island of Mauritius.
How long did it take you to get there?
Oh, that's a nasty. Let's see. I took the slow boat to Mauritius, so to speak. It took me 40 hours to get there.
40?
From Hawaii.
40?
40.
Oh, man. From Hawaii. Just think, oh, my. Even longer from here then, probably.
Yeah, I would think so.
So the studio, and you can't see this, listeners, but the studio has a giant map of the world on the wall. And Anne has just pointed out to me where Mauritius is, and it is one heck of a long way from Hawaii, and certainly a long way, a little farther from, we would be a little farther from that. That's really amazing. Madagascar looks huge by comparison to Mauritius. So the culture in Mauritius, I don't know a thing about the island. Is it a tropical kind of a culture? Is it like Guam or some of the not the Philippines, but Guam or some of anyway.
Mauritius is actually...
Is it tropical?
It is very tropical. They are actually in the same latitude of the Tropic of Capricorn that Hawaii is in the Tropic of Cancer.
Oh, so they're equidistant below the equator then?
Yes, below the equator from Hawaii. Yeah. And the climates are very, very similar.
But opposite seasons?
Opposite seasons, yes.
Huh. So when you went down, which wasn't too long ago, right?
I was there in April.
Okay, so was it winter?
They were, I guess, in that transition going into their winter period. And when I was there, we had a couple of nights of rain that were almost monsoon-like, if you ask me. Yeah. Pretty heavy rain.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know your wife thinks it's really a difficult burden for you to stay at five-star hotels when you go down and eat all this fabulous food and anything you want.
Yeah, somebody's got to do it.
Yeah. So I think there should be a family visit, yes.
Yeah, I think so, too.
So of all the places that you have been, is there one that stands out to you as the most unique culture that you had to blend your core values with? Would it be Australia? You've been to New Zealand, too, right?
Yeah, Outrigger previously had properties in both the North and the South Island of New Zealand. Several years ago, we had as many as 14 I'm going to say maybe 17 properties throughout Australia and New Zealand. Today we are just in Australia. And I'd have to say that Australia was probably the most challenging. Guam, Mauritius, Thailand have unique indigenous cultures. And so the whole concept of values and cultural values was, I think, an easy connection for them to make. Australia, by far, or I should say by large, is very Western society, or Western community.
Much like Hawaii?
Yeah, I guess you could say so. And there is an indigenous culture. There's the Aboriginal culture.
Right.
Yet there is not a daily presence of the Aboriginal culture. It's not showcased as you might find in Hawaii or other tropical places like French Polynesia. There are, what's happening now in Australia is that the culture is becoming more and more ingrained in everyday and mainstream, Australia living. And it was difficult for us to do our work in Australia, because it's been Outrigger's tradition to connect with an indigenous culture. Yet we've made quite a number of strides in regards to connecting with some of the local practitioners, their local Aboriginal groups, and having discussions with them. And
So you can start to bring them into the culture there, even
Yes.
though it's a very westernized culture
Yes.
that dominates.
Right.
Okay, good.
You know, Outrigger also has a wonderful reputation of embracing the cultures of the places where we do business.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a reputation that that's out in the community. And so if some of those community groups, as in Australia, gets a call from Outrigger, they're very open to have that initial discussion to understand, well, what are our intentions with learning the culture?
Okay.
What are ways that they could participate in showcasing that culture to our guests?
Well, I think that's fascinating. I would love to travel like you get to and see all of those different parts of the world. But I have a few more questions for you about your travels when we come back. And we've been talking with Kaipo Ho, who is a kahu in the Hawaiian culture and works in cultural aspects of Hawaii as he travels the world. So we'll take a quick break here, and we will come back and we'll talk some more about the travels and the different parts of the world that we would like to focus on and visit. So let's see if we can, or maybe we'll just keep talking since I'm not hearing any music coming up. Okay, so, oh, here we go. All right, we'll take a quick break and we'll wake Trip up, and then we'll be back in just a minute. You're listening to the Common Sense Express on the Heads Up Radio Network.
Hey, you know, not everybody plays like a pro, but you know what? Abilities can tangibly benefit from custom-fitted golf equipment. Tour professionals have insisted that manufacturers custom-fit their clubs to specific body types and swing motions for years, and Henry Griffiths asked why, and answered by providing a service reserved for pros and now available to you: custom fitting. To find out how to become part of the Henry Griffiths experience, visit our website or sign up for the e-news today, where you feel like a pro. Avalanche Cleaning and Restoration is ready for spring. Are you? Let Avalanche get you ready for summer by making your house or business springtime clean. For all your carpet, upholstery, and window cleaning needs, even those emergency cleanups, call Avalanche. 208-762-2227. Emergency hotline 208-818-4411. Or online, avalancheclean.com. Avalanche. Fast, safe, and reliable. Looking for something different to do tonight? Thinking of a restaurant that you haven't been to for a while, or a place to take the kids out for a fun night? Ever find yourself in this situation? This is a question that prompted publisher Jeanette Dunn to create Idaho Cuisine and Spokane Sizzle dining and entertainment guides. And it just keeps getting better with their pocket guides, online editions, and now online local restaurant finder at sizzlingcuisine.com. Also find local wineries, breweries, distilleries, great recipes from local chefs, hot spots and cool happenings, and chances to vote for your favorites. Be in the know about local happenings when you sign up for the Sizzling Cuisine e-News, delivered to your desktop weekly, and be eligible to win a free dinner for two. You've always enjoyed reading the magazines. Now it's easy to flip through them online too. Makes it easy to find restaurants that offer great menus prepared by experienced staffs who really care to serve you the best in local cuisine. Spokane Sizzle and Idaho Cuisine are online at sizzleincuisine.com. We do the footwork to make it easy for you to find just what you're looking for. Jump aboard the Common Sense Express. Now, here's your host, Mary Souza.
Hi, and welcome back. We are talking with Kaipo Ho, who is a kahu in the Hawaiian culture, and he also is our cousin who's visiting for a couple of weeks from Hawaii. And Kaipo has just such a fascinating background in his work as a kahu, which is a spiritual leader in the Hawaiian culture. But also, he does this, he connects it in with his actual job when at the Outrigger Resort chain, where he is the cultural, tell me again the title.
Cultural Experiences Manager.
There you go. And he travels all over the world, talking and involving the new either management hotels that the Outrigger resort chain is managing or that they own in all these exotic places like Mauritius off of the coast of southern Africa, actually off of Madagascar, which is off the southern coast of Africa, and Guam and Thailand, and you've been to New Zealand in the past and recently to Australia as well for all of this cultural work. Right. And then you and your wonderful wife, Ann, love to come up and visit in Idaho. She would she would be much happier if it was snowing right now,
yes,
however.
She would.
And she would have her purple boots on and she'd be dancing in the snow. However, we don't have snow and we don't want any right now. I'm sorry, Ann. That's okay. But as you travel around, mm-hmm. I guess it would be terrible to put you on the spot and ask you what your favorite culture is, but other than Hawaii, where we know you grew up and you live and you love and all of the rest of that, where do you feel most comfortable?
Each of the cultures, each of the places where we do our work, where we have our hotels, it's just special in its own way. Mm-hmm. It's hard for me to select, one over the other.
I know. It's apples and oranges.
Yeah, it really is. And I have to say each experience as I'm traveling from one place to the next, they only get better. They only get better and more fulfilling, for me personally. Mm-hmm. So it really is hard to choose one over the other.
Do you have a sense of home in any of them?
That is a very good question to ask, and that's a great way to put it. And I think I feel at home. Well, how do I say? I feel at home in Australia.
Do you?
I feel at home in Mauritius. I feel at home in Guam. And I think that whole aspect of home is connecting with two things. One is connecting with the place, but I think first of all it's connecting with the people. Mm-hmm. And it's my personal traveling style that when I get to a place, once I connect with the people, somehow connect with the people, even if it happens to be the agents at the immigration or the customs gate, mm-hmm. connecting with them, the greeting that they have. Mm-hmm. When I've made that connection, then I feel good. But it also comes down to the hospitality that they're sharing for us as they're welcoming us. Because I don't think I've ever had a really bad experience, even though in some places that I've traveled, I've always been pulled aside for additional security measures.
Oh, then that's always so fun.
Yes, it is. Yet they've been very pleasant about it, and so that's all that I can ask. But to pick one culture over the other is very difficult. All of them very unique in their own way.
I understand, and I know that was an unfair question, just like asking you what your favorite food was. But is there a food that, because I know you're a connoisseur of wonderful food and you're a wonderful cook as well. Is there some place that you have been that you ate something really unusual and you said, oh my, I would never have guessed in a million years that this and such would taste so good? Anything that comes to mind?
It would probably be Thai, Australia. Mm. You don't get a lot of gator in Hawaii.
Gator? They eat gators?
They eat gator. And honestly, tastes like chicken.
No.
Tastes like chicken. It has that same texture as chicken. So I've tried that, and that was enjoyable.
Oh, that's kind of weird. I wouldn't even begin to think how you could skin that. And okay, so do they put it on the Barbie? The gator on the Barbie.
How did we have it? I'm going to say that I don't think it was on the Barbie. It was, I think, broiled.
Oh, broiled gator.
Broiled gator.
With cream sauce or something. No, just kidding. So of the work that you do, because it's so varied, and you have such wonderful experiences, what part do you enjoy the most?
I enjoy touching bases and meeting the employees, our hosts at our different hotels, mm-hmm. whether it be in Hawaii or abroad. It's always fulfilling and rewarding for me to just be in contact with our part of the company that's in touch with the guests, and to hear their stories and to enjoy their stories, and also to hear the challenges that they have, and to discover that we all have the same challenges, no matter where we are in the world, when it comes to caring for our guests, but also to listen to their stories and understand just how committed they are towards caring for our guests.
You're such a people person, though.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So what would you say are some of the biggest challenges that you face? I mean, I know traveling 40 hours to get to Mauritius couldn't have been a piece of cake, but I mean, in terms of your job, the challenges.
Well, there are two big challenges. One is the administrative needs of my job. I'm a department of one for a company of about 45 hotels and about 4,500 employees around the world.
Wow.
So being a department of one is very difficult. I enjoy, what I don't enjoy so much is the administrative needs of my job.
The paperwork?
The paperwork. Necessary, but I'd rather be out there, being with the employees. The other aspect of my job that I don't care so much for is the airport part of it, the traveling and being at the airports. It's once I get to these destinations, I feel good. I feel good. It's the traveling, being in an airplane, going through the customs, and company takes good care of me. They put me up in good flights, but it's just the whole flying experience. This isn't what it used to be.
No, it isn't, is it? And even when you're not in first class,
exactly.
Right? So as we're going, as you're traveling and as you're blending all of these cultures, how does your kahu part when you get to a place like Mauritius or Guam, and does your role in your personal or your spiritual life as a kahu, does that come through in your work? Do they recognize that? Do they acknowledge it, respect it, or is it off-putting to any of the cultures that you're a kahu?
Love the question. How do I respond to that? I think my foundation, my cultural background, my teaching, and the work that I do as a kahu is a very firm foundation for how I relate to people. It teaches me how to be respectful to people, how to be respectful to people's cultures. It teaches me how to be respectful of diversity. I mean, I have my experiences that I've grown up with in life, but when I'm traveling, it's very important for me to be open to understand other cultures. So I think my role as a kahu has really helped me to do that. One of the other things that helps, where the kahu role comes into my work at Outrigger, is a lot of times that I'm going to these new hotels, we're opening them for the first time.
Right.
And so in every situation so far, we have actually made a connection between the Hawaiian culture coming over and interacting with the culture of the place. So, for example, in Mauritius and in Thailand, we had a grand opening ceremony where I came performing specific Hawaiian protocol and chants on behalf of Outrigger, and presenting these chants and special gifts to our hosts of the place, with special gifts from Hawaii, as a gesture of our hospitality and our thank you for allowing us to be there to do business. And in Thailand, there was a huge ceremony that involved the morning with the Buddhist culture, and the afternoon with the Hindu culture, and then in the evening there was a ceremony with the Hawaiian culture.
Wow.
And so there was this wonderful blending of all the cultures. And so that's another part of the work that I do that I truly enjoy.
Which place was it that it wouldn't stop raining and you were waiting for the rain to stop so that you could do the ceremony?
This was Mauritius.
Okay.
This was Mauritius. Yeah, first of all, they joked and they blamed me for bringing the rain on my trip. But I have to say, it was quite a coincidence that when I did come, the heavy rain came with me. So they told me, you need to get out there and do your thing and connect with the spirits, and you need to help us with this rain. And
Stop
so
the rain.
Stop the rain, basically. And I did. I went out and I did my rituals out on the ocean, and it kept raining. But what happened was, and there's the Hawaiian style is ahunui. Ahunui means patience. Because when you pray for something, it may not come then.
Right.
It might not even come this generation.
Yeah.
But the rain stopped when it needed to stop. And the night of the ceremony, just an hour before the ceremony, the rain stopped and it began to dry up. Hours before that, it was raining. And that 1 hour before the ceremony and the grand opening celebration, it cleared up. So,
Oh, you're good. You're good. Okay. So when you're doing these grand opening celebrations, I can only imagine that it would be just a much broader version of the little ceremony that you did a number of years ago when when Malia bought a house down in
Right.
Richland, and you
Right.
guys happened to be up here visiting. So we we drove down to the Tri-Cities to see the new house, and you did a blessing for the house. And that was so interesting because you used tea leaf, right?
Right.
Tea leaf and
and salt water. And the water was actually a mixture of salt and the ground roots of the olena, what we call the olena plant, or a ginger. It's a ginger base.
turmeric.
Turmeric, yeah, exactly.
Right. And you said, do you have any turmeric? And I happen to have some ground turmeric, right? So we use that, and a wooden bowl and all of this, and then
There you go.
yeah. And so what you were saying as you were going around doing your chant, right, around every room of the house and sprinkling with the tea leaf, kind of sprinkling this solution with the salt and the turmeric, you were saying that you weren't just like chasing out evil spirits or anything. You were connecting with the ancient spirits from the land.
Yes.
Is that it?
Yeah, when I do blessings of places, homes or businesses, there's several things we're doing. One is we are paying tribute to the original inhabitants of the area, and most of them obviously are of the spiritual realm. So it's paying tribute to them and respecting their presence. It's also the chants that I do are prayers to them, to ask them to watch over this place, to provide their spiritual blessing over this place. And the other part of the blessing is also to what we say in the Hawaiian culture is to oki. Oki means to release. And when I do my blessings, is to release any of the past wrongdoings or impurities to the place. It's just to cut it, to sever, to oki it, get rid of it. And we do that through the chants and the sprinkling of the salt water.
Well, you know what I'm leading up to here,
Yes,
because
I do.
in a few minutes, when we're done chatting about all of this, Kaipo is going to do a chant for us, and it's because he knows how much I enjoy his chants, and I always ask him to do chants when we get together for dinner or whatever. And the other night, I have to say, he kind of kicked out really quickly. He said, he goes, "Oh, the food is ready and we're going to eat it." And that was not a chant, of course, but he said he would actually do a real chant for us today. And so tell me what's the composition of a chant? How do you create a chant? What's the significance of a chant?
A lot of the chants that I share and I use are traditional chants that were written by generations past, and some of them are also very contemporary. There are no specific guidelines, I think, to writing chants. It's a matter of inspiration. It's like a songwriter. Chants are very spiritual at their core, and through chants we make this connection between our realm and our place and sense of time to that of our ancestors past. And I mean, there are many chants composed today that are used widely in ceremonies. I'm always on the lookout. I'm searching. I'm listening for different chants that are being released on recordings. I'm touching bases with other kahu, other cultural practitioners. We're sharing chants, and all for the single purpose of making sure that the ceremonies that we do are done in a manner that is pono, or proper and upright and respectful of our culture, and obviously respectful to our ancestors past.
Okay, so what kind of chant would you be doing for us?
Well, the chant I'd like to share is called Oli Aloha. And Oli Aloha is it's actually a welcoming chant, but I use it also in my blessings to signify, this is the last chant I do in blessing a home, and that it signifies to the homeowner and any of its guests that this house has been cleansed. And in the beginning words of the Oli, it speaks of the fragrance of the hala and the lehua, which are beautiful when in full bloom. And when these are in full bloom, it just creates these emotions of love and just good feelings. And so this Oli is a representation of being here in Idaho, being with your family, with you, Rick, and the kids, and just your hospitality, and saying thanks to you for all of that. And also, I can bless the studio too. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll bless the studio through this Oli.
Oh, good.
There we go. O naunai ka hala me ka lehu, he hala lehu no yanata no. O ka unoi ai, anu i nei, li anei, ho eo ka iki mai. Iki mai no ko, hiki puno me ke aloha. Aloha 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 Ai mahalo me ke akua, mahalo e nā kupuna makamai, mahalo e nā kalani apau, me mahalo e nā papahanau moku. It's to give great thanks to our Creator, to give thanks to the ancestors of the past. It's to give thanks to the greatest, or our great realm of ancestors beyond and above our own universe. And most importantly, to give blessings and thanks to Papahanau moku, Mother Earth, this place with which we live, and this place with which we have been blessed. And we pray to them and we ask them to guide us in our actions to care for this place, especially not so much for us, but our future generations to come. Amen.
Amen. Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And you have been listening. We've been privileged to have Kaipo Ho, our cousin, visiting with us, and his wonderful wife, Anne-Marie, from Hawaii. And this is Mary Souza, and you've been listening to the Common Sense Express on the Heads Up Radio Network. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Aloha.
Aloha.